One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small, and the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. And if you go chasing rabbits and you know you're going to fall, tell 'em a hookah smoking caterpillar has given you the call. Call Alice when she was just small.
Amsterdam, Paris, Stockholm, Copenhagen.
May I light your fire, my child?
That's my favorite singer, as you know. I guess not.
Apparently not, no. Well, I would have bet against it myself.
Jim Morrison.
That's my answer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He's very unique, as well as being, I mean, everybody knows he was a good-looking man.
Right.
But he was, if you have a room full of green people, there's one guy that's purple. He's going to be both purple and green at the same time. Mm-hmm. He has his own universe as well as communicating with you. Hello, my name is Grace Slick, and this is Paul Kantner. And in 1968, Paul and I were a member of a group called Jefferson Airplane, and both of us toured Europe for the first time with a band called The Doors. And what we're going to do is talk here a little bit about what we can remember of that period of time. Yeah, you can remember something. I think what the Doors and the Airplane may have had in common, as other of the groups at the time, was the shift that came about, and that's from the 50s into the 60s, which is partly musical.
And partly accident of history. I think the whole 60s were much more than music. And the bands, I think, as well as artists, as well as poets, as well as creators of furniture, for that matter, reflected the chaos or whatever was swirling around us. And rather than concentrating, well, we're going to write strange songs, you just wrote what came, and it was accepted. Well, there was something that went on in San Francisco, and in rock and roll, the best rock and roll, that in those days in San Francisco, they called it tribal. Jim was saying it was like a Dionysian experience. It was like a religious experience. It's what religion should have been. Just total joy, exaltation. And the Doors, for us, for me, were one of the few Los Angeles bands that would excite that in their audience. They were one of the precursors of both the punk, the new wave, and the current, what would you call it? Yeah. Heavy metal, perhaps, explosion. You can see Jim aped in all of them, in various successful and less and more successful ways. You can see people who've either taken or absorbed his mannerisms. He's very much like a blues artist in some way, in the looseness, and like, you know, blues artists who used to go to the bathroom in the club playing their harmonica solo. and go in and take a dump and come back out still playing.
Woo! Tasty.
I mean, there's that sort of, that bass, casual, forceful. There came to be a sort of a U2-like missionary zeal of carrying the fire, as it were, to the provinces. Is that we'd go out in the doors. I talked with Morrison about this at one point. You'd go out into, and we did it. We'd go into a community. We went to Grinnell College in the middle of Iowa one year. You know, and everybody came to our show dressed in prom dresses and tuxedos. We went back a year later, and they were having nude love-ins and painted body ceremonies, and acid was just everywhere. You know, and it was that quick of a change. And going to Europe was just more carrying the same flair. Jim was part of that whole flux that we were part of up here, of opening those kind of doors to perception, to experience, and it was very joyful, childlike kind of thing, rather than a concerted effort of, well, we think we're going to be big pop stars. They were ready for us into England by 1968. I still think it was an underground level, but it was a very big underground level. So it was very well organized, or not organized, but it was large. What the Roundhouse in London was an old car barn. It was round. Dust would rise out of the floor and people danced on it. Train roundhouse. And mechanics. And it was just like San Francisco. People were just maniacal to be different. And that the whole thing, the whole psychedelic or whatever you want to call it, had swept across the Atlantic.
Amsterdam is very much like San Francisco was at the time. The buildings were painted the same way. In the psychedelic sense, if you want to talk about that, the business of having the door frame yellow, the doors red, the frames around the windows are blue, the walls are purple, there's bongs on all four corners of the room. So Amsterdam also, drugs are legal. So it was, at one point,
That was
it's another
Jim's problem in
Yeah, it's
Amsterdam,
another
I think.
Morrison thing. As we were walking down, there's one sort of main street where they had shops of our kind, which means the psychedelic stuff, handmade, tie-dyed beads and all that kind of stuff. And we're walking down the street, both bands. So, you know, Jim's over there, and we weren't all together in a big
Swinging
clump.
on a bottle like a gunfighter, you know,
But
just
the
got into
kids
town.
would offer us drugs.
Everything.
Everything. All the way down this street, they were offering us drugs of all kinds. And we'd say, thank you very much. Put it in your pocket. I'll have maybe a little of that later. Maybe I'll have a little drag off of this and then walk for it. But you don't take everything you're given, otherwise you would be dead. Jim, on the other hand,
took everything.
Everything that was given to him on the spot.
We were playing in Amsterdam, and Jim came out in the middle of our set. Like, we would trade off each night. We would open one night, they would open the next night. In Amsterdam, we were opening, and Jim came out in our set somewhat drug abused and started doing almost like Sufi dancing to a Plastic Fantastic Lover, which is a pretty fast song for us, and getting real erratic and wild and having a good time.
He looked like a pinwheel.
Yeah, he started spinning.
Like a pinwheel.
And we, in our perverse manner, started playing faster, just because he sort of invaded our turf without asking. I mean, we didn't consult ourselves, it just occurred. And it was amusing, and he went going faster and faster, and went backstage and collapsed, and they didn't do the show, or he couldn't do the show. And we were sitting back in the dressing room, heard that he was sick or something, and then the doors started. We heard the doors coming from out on the stage, and yeah, the doors were playing. Oh, I guess they got together. So we went out to check them out, and we're like, there's no Morrison out there. And very quietly raised behind the, baby, you can light my fire, doing the act, perhaps.
The whole set.
The whole set, sounding very much like Jim.
And that's where Manzarek comes in. The man is amazing, because I've watched him and heard other stories about him having to do things that are just incredible. I don't know another band member where the keyboard player could just all of a sudden take over and do the rest of the show and sing and play the piano and get all the phrasing right and do the whole thing, and probably never having done it before. I mean, if you know, I don't know of another band where the lead singer was that erratic. We were sort of erratic, but Marty and I were generally on stage. I think his looking the way he did, being born that way, was not entirely terrible. The guy looked physically real good. He wasn't doing, I'm not going to name any groups now, okay, because I don't want to, you know, slam anybody, but there's a lot of guys who get up and do a lot of posturing out in front, and you just think, oh, go home, you know, like Keith Richards said, shave and go home, because it's corny. It's obvious that you're doing that because you want to come on as something more. You want girls to get a hard on. We don't.
He looked like he felt it.
What's the word for hard on? What do we get? Wet. Soft ons? Wet.
Wet
Yeah,
ons.
something. You know, and guys they come on and do this stuff and you just think, but Jim wasn't doing any stuff. He had so much to drink on one night that he just simply died. He didn't even go into overdose stage. He just died. But he had probably had that same amount sometime before. But it worked before. And I really don't think that when you're 25, you're at the top of your career, you're being written about as a genius, you have all these women, you are having a great time going around the world being a rock and roll star, that you're going to say, gee, I think I ought to kill myself. Come on. I don't think so, folks. I think what Jimmy had was that roulette wheel spun around and went, not this time.
So I go on and we open with Plastic Fantastic, in fact, and it was just great. I'm right on it. I got the crowd. Everybody's going nuts, you know. And I see Morrison over the corner of my eye, and somebody gives him a big ball of hash, you know. And I see him go. He's eating it down. So I'm singing. I got the crowd going, and suddenly Jim comes dancing out around me. He's dancing around. He's dancing around. So I'm singing to Jim, and he's dancing around with me, and we're wrapping ourselves up in the chord, you know. And then we unwrap just at the end of the song, and the crowd's going crazy, you know. Jim looks at me and goes, "Beat that motherfucker." I falls out right on my feet. I never got up for the show that night. But it was so cool. He looked at me with that look in his face and said, "Beat that motherfucker."
Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. She's walking down the street, blind to every eye she meets. Do you think you'll be the guy to make the queen of the angel side? Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. She holds her head so high, like a statue in the sky. Her arms are wicked and her legs are long. When she moves, my brain screams out this song. Sidewalk crouches at her feet, like a dog that begs for something sweet. Do you hope to make her see you, fool? Do you hope to pluck this dusky jewel? Hello, 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 hello. I want you. Hello, I need my baby. Hello, hello, hello. Or show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. must die. Tell ya we must die. Tell ya, I tell ya, I tell ya we must die. Oh, moon of Alabama, we now must say goodbye. We've lost our good old